Welcome again to Huckins on Film. I'm your host Kyle Huckins, and we're talking about I Spit on Your Grave 2. Yes. The god-awful 2010 remake of the 1980 rape revenge classic has a sequel. Kind of. None of the characters from the first one are in this one. It's another rape revenge story. And honestly, it does take an interesting twist because this is I Spit on Your Grave meets Taken. Yeah. Yeah, the movie starts out in Brooklyn and ends up in Bulgaria. And in all seriousness, first half of this movie is pretty good. It's brutal as hell. I'll definitely say that. I mean, nothing's ever going to top the original, but not for lack of trying in this one. Although that was one of the problems with it, is that the violence perpetrated against our lead Katie is so over the top. You just kind of have to feel watch it like, she should be dead. And she should have been dead a while ago. I mean, the original, it's a brutal series of assaults, there's no doubt about it. But at the same time, you totally understand. You can kind of see, like, I can see someone surviving it. Barely, but you can see it. This, after a while, it's like, oh, yeah, she's been dead for a while. She has to have been. This is just, no way. That part of the movie is handled very well. Gemma Dallender plays Katie, who's our new Jennifer Hills. And as with just about everything, she's really good in the first half. Unfortunately, this thing really goes off the rails in the last 40 minutes. And real badly. It's one of the problems with the first one, with the remake, I should say, is when Jennifer goes to get her revenge, she turns into friggin' Jigsaw. Which makes, I mean, it's one of the, was she a serial killer to begin with? Because that's kind of the feeling I have. You don't feel that with this. And that was another good thing about this one. The protagonist doesn't disappear for a half an hour like in the first one. Now, Katie is in the whole movie. You know, in the remake, Jennifer disappeared for like a half an hour and just suddenly showed up. They do kind of their own twist on her survival and later revenge. And the survival was mostly good. I mean, there was, like, the start of the survival portion of the film kind of didn't make a lot of sense. They really didn't explain it. It's just kind of a, oh, well, that happened. I'm confused. But she does survive. And actually, it leads to the part where the film goes completely off the rails. She's standing outside the American Embassy when she just inexplicably turns around and decides she's going to get revenge. However, her revenge, like, the actual revenge itself does make more sense in this. Like, there's a part early on where she's talking to the superintendent of her apartment building, where she makes a mousetrap to help. You know, they establish that she's actually got some acumen with tools. But my big problem is just that she just decides to turn around and get revenge. In the original, Jennifer Hills doesn't immediately... Now, you can argue that she should have just gone back to the city and not stayed there. But in a way, it's not even a revenge flick. It's one of those, she's outside doing something, and she sees the two guys motorboat by, and they see her, and it's a, oh shit, you know, look at their faces. She's still alive. Look at our faces. They know I'm alive. It's kind of believable. She has that feeling of, I better get them before they get me. This, she just says, no, before I go home, I'm gonna massacre the family that did this to me. Okay, I can't knock that urge. I probably feel the same way myself in that situation. And it's just one of those, it seems like, that kind of should have been the end of the movie. They really should have set it up in such a way that she kind of had to go through them to get home, and they didn't. And the ending of this movie is... Okay, yeah, brief spoiler. She doesn't even get to kill all of them herself. Policeman that's looking for her ends up killing, like, the main guy. It's, you go through all those gymnastics, you have this plot that doesn't make any sense, and then you don't even let her finish him off. I mean, I probably could have forgiven a lot more. It's like, oh man, you even screwed up the revenge. How do you do that? And even with all the kills, it has the same problem where every character's death has to mirror what they did to Katie. It's like, oh, you're just gonna shove the irony straight up my ass, aren't you? Yeah. I didn't really work in the first one. It's not working any better here. And also, her performance really goes downhill in the second half, because she just turns into a complete rage monster. I mean, almost every other line, she sounds like Angela Gasso of Arch Enemy. Just, like, okay, you're in death metal. Like, again, the level of rage is completely understandable, but just like, as much as I love Carcass, why does she sound like Jeff Walker? It just... it's too over the top. I'm not saying there shouldn't be anger and hatred. Obviously there should be. It's a revenge flick. It's just that she got in, like I said, she got into death metal territory, and it got to be somewhat goofy. It's a much better looking film than the remake was. You know, there's actual color in this movie. You know, the remake was just straight up gray. This one, it actually had color too. I mean, it wasn't like the best looking movie, but it wasn't just drab. this was actually kind of easy to look at. But, like I said, it's a lot more brutal than the first one, especially the rapes, because there's a series of them. It gets, like I said, it gets cartoonishly brutal at times, but it definitely doesn't hold back. And it's meant to be brutal and unsettling. They did get that right. And frankly, I liked the fact that it kind of turned into a Taken flick. I kind of feel like there was a good movie in there. And they kind of boned it. Oh, also, this movie is disgusting at times. There's... Not to get into spoiler, but 2 of the kills involve quite a bit of feces. Yeah, it's like... yeah, I could have done without the poop kill. I'm just not a fan of excrement in general. I consider it a necessary evil from my own body. But anyway, yeah, that was I Spit on Your Grave too. It's much better than its predecessor. Maybe if it's on Netflix streaming, if you've already got the subscription, it's free, why not? I mean, I paid $4 to watch it on demand. I can't really recommend it all that highly. This was less disturbing than the remake in one way, though. Like, one of the characters, he's definitely... You almost feel like he is mentally challenged. You're not entirely sure, or if he's just a fucking vicious little psychopath because of how he was raised. As opposed to the first, where you had the one character who was clearly mentally disabled profoundly. And, when he gets done in, it's kind of a... not entirely sure who I'm rooting for here. This is in some really dicey moral territory here. This didn't have that character. Like, you could tell this character was not normal. I know I'm using all the wrong words here. I can't think of the right ones. But you feel like he understands what he's doing is wrong and proceeds anyway. Maybe he doesn't understand why it's wrong, but he understands that it is wrong. So, yes, a much better performance out of the lead in this one. At least through the first half. It definitely doesn't hold back. It's a really brutal, unflinching flick. But, yeah, the last 40 minutes are pretty bad. Honestly, I would have recommended this after the first hour. That it does not end well, though. So yeah, I'm gonna have to advise you to pass on that one. It's Kyle Huckins, Huckins on Film, fucking off.